here quite a bit with Denton and moved back to the Middle East, and has his own little home set up over there, but there's no studios, so he bought MacBook Pro and he's got Logic, and I mean, when I say didn't know what he was doing, I mean like didn't know where the mic pre was on the interface, like that level of new.
Yeah.
So I went through the basics with him today. It was like a refresher for me too. It kind of put shit into perspective for me. Now I've been doing this like almost 17 years, going back into this guy's shoes, remembering when I was first setting up mics, and like it's been a journey. But yeah, it was cool. We did it on over FaceTime from like the United Arab Emirates to Vancouver, doing a FaceTime Logic lesson. So it was really cool. And the biggest thing is I was like stressing the importance of like the fundamentals, like he was like, oh, what do you think of this mic, or like this and that, and I was like, oh, they're cool, but like you could have a Sony 800 and still fuck up your recordings.
Yeah, if you don't know how to use it.
Right?
Yeah. Or like how to mic properly. Yeah.
Technique, placement.
Yeah.
I mean, man, the amount of times I'm in here like looking through the glass in the booth and like fussing over like 1 inch, and I'll get back in there and I'll like adjust the mic, and so there really is an art to all this stuff.
For sure. It's like you gotta treat it like you're miking a drum set, because it's so important where like the mic is, right? So it only makes sense that like where the artist is in terms of like where they're aimed. But yeah, it's super important.
Yeah. Where the pop filter is, in
how far they are.
Yeah. Because this room in here gets booked out quite a bit without me. We make it available to producers to bring their little crew in and record their songs, and we leave the whole room to them. Here, take it for a couple hours. Here's the mics. Here's the computer. Great, have fun. And the amount of times I come in the next day and I look at some of these, mic, like the way that they left the mic, and I'm just like, what planet is this? Like, I mean, the pop filter is like touching the mic, and it might be like, the front of it is faced to the floor, and they're recording like, I mean, just anything you can imagine that's wrong is wrong.
Yeah. And
I've seen like every combination of it. So yes, you can book the room without an engineer, but I recommend that you don't, because the shit isn't easy, man, and it takes a long time to learn all the intricacies. I'm still learning it's such a tremendous pace. It still blows me away all the time. Like I'm 32 now. I probably started making songs, setting up mics when I was like 13, 14, and I still at times feel like I'm not a beginner, but like, man, there's still so much I don't know.
It never ends, man.
Never ends.
It never ends. Even like at the highest level, like I think it was Tumay. I think he was in a Twitch stream. Like Derek Ali was in a Twitch stream, and Tumay was in there.
I think I saw that one. Was that with Pensado?
I don't know if it was with Pensado, but like, yeah, it just goes to show you, like, even at that level, like Tumay is still like learning.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that part of that too is music's changing, and like even if you look back, like 10 years ago, and now. It's like totally different, and it makes me think like, damn, 2030, how's this all gonna sound? Are we still gonna be using tune? Probably.
Imagine if like the Beatles and the Doors had heard Drake, or had heard Future, or had heard Post Malone in the 60s. Like, what would, like, like when you say things have changed, my God, I mean, it's not even the same. It's so different, man. I mean, everything's changed. And it's still all every day, you know. Billie Eilish just changed the game again, you know. What's next? Like, it's so exciting. I have this this insecurity that one day all the songs are going to be written, like, but they won't. Like, there's an infinity amount of guitar parts. There's an infinity amount of lyrics combined with melodies, combined with guitar parts, combined with drum patterns. It will never end. I mean, you would think that, you know, it's 2021 now and music's been around forever, really, but like recorded music's been around less than 100 years, and it's there's no limit to what we're capable of.
And then there's sampling too. So like just flipping old ideas and then making it fresh, you know.
Totally.
So like, I think the perfect example of that would be like, I mean, there's a lot of examples, but one that I enjoy a lot is the J. Cole and 21 Savage record a lot. So it's like you have that soul, like that sample, but then like modern hard-hitting drums, 808 in there. It's like, whoa. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think we'll see the end.
No, right? And that's what's so exciting. So how long have you been doing this? Like, when did you get started, and what made you want to say, oh, I want to try recording music? Or like, what was it that got you on this path?
I think it started when I was like really young. I think in like grade 2, grade 3, we had computer class, and our teacher was teaching us a software called ModPlug. Have you ever heard of that?
Never heard of it.
It's like super basic, just like putting sounds together, making like loops and stuff like that. And that's kind of where it started. And like from there, like in high school, I was playing like Rock Band and Guitar Hero.
Nice.
And I was like, I want to play this for real. You know what I mean? I want to play this for real. And so like picked up guitar and drums from there. And then picked up FL from there as well.
Okay.
Just making like beats with my homies. Took a break. And then like went to college, was like studying bullshit that I didn't really care for. And I had a MacBook, and like it had GarageBand on it. So I was like, damn. This kind of like reminding me of like high school days when I was like making beats or whatever. And then, like naturally from GarageBand went into Logic. And then, I took a break from school, and I was like, damn, if I want to go back to school, I want it to be for something that I actually like, something I actually enjoy.
Sure.
And then, got into the Douglas program. More of a beat maker, less so like recording and stuff. But it opened my eyes up to like, oh shit, there's other stuff I could be doing. Like, you know, like there's mixing, there's mastering, there's recording. And like, from there, it rest is history kind of thing. Like, just worked with homies. They're like, hey, I want to make music. I'm like, I kind of know how to do that.
I got the skills. Once you get your feet wet with audio, quote unquote, really, like, it opens up such a big universe, right? So we're kind of from a different generation. So when you say like, what year are we talking here, so I can kind of wrap my head around this?
Like when I started recording?
When you're in high school, you're leaving high school, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go do some post-secondary and actually study something that matters to me.
So when I was grade 10, that was 2010. That's when I like first discovered FL.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
My first
2010
beats.
FL. Yeah.
Yeah, was in like 2010, and then graduated in 2012. Studied for a few years, and like, like just wasted a bunch of time. I mean, I wouldn't say it was time wasted, because like in a post-secondary setting, you meet a lot of people. and you make connections. And like I'm actually making music with people from that time now. And yeah, but I I went back to school for music in 2016, and then
At Douglas, you were saying. And what was that like?
It was dope. It was dope. I learned a lot. I think so. People ask me all the time, like, "Oh, is it worth going to school or whatever?" And I think yes and no. Yes, because like you learn, or no, when you're learning all this shit, it's hard to know what you don't know, or like you don't know what you don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
So like school filled the gaps. It was like, oh, this is how you bust properly. Don't throw reverbs on the track. I mean, I do that sometimes.
As an insert.
Yeah. I do that sometimes.
Okay, so you went, like you were saying, you went there with the mentality of like being a beat maker and a producer, but they were teaching you, it sounds like, about engineering as well, and like you said, busing and stuff. And how are your programs structured there? So we had a class where they taught Logic, actually. Cool. And so there was like a class where it was mainly production, and we had a recording class too. So we would like set up drums, learn about mic placement, and like learn how to use preamps and stuff. We had like an SSL console. I think Nimbus has one too, right? Yeah. And just like learning signal flow. I think that's super important. Absolutely. That should be like one of the first things you learn, if not the first thing you learn. It's like how to put the keys in the car. Yeah. That's what we're talking about here. Yeah, exactly. And there was some other classes too. We had like a theory class. So depending on where you were, we were split. So like the more advanced people were like they were in a different class. But it was a solid program. The curriculum was like wide. It wasn't super like audio engineering. Mm-hmm. We learned some other things in there too. And we had what was it? It was like we had a class where we would practice a set. So I think Douglas, they put importance on like the musicality, or like being able to play and read music too, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, we would practice a set throughout the semester, and then at the end of the semester, we would perform at the auditorium. So that was a fun time. Oh, right on. Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm understanding this, most of, if not all of the students actually could play an instrument, or were some of them like, not everyone was involved in that actual set at the end? Yeah, like there was opportunity to be working the live sound side too. Oh, okay. So it's a whole big group effort. You all put on a show, and nice. Exactly. Some of you get to be the front of house guy, and some of you are actually on the drums. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. I asked that because when I was at Nimbus, I was really alarmed when, a handful of my classmates, when we all introduced ourselves on day one, had no music background, like zero. Like that was their first. Yeah, like owning an iPod was their prerequisite. Word, okay. And that's not to take away anything from them, and some of those guys are still friends with today. Amazing, but it was a little, I thought, ignorant at the time, and to this day, those guys are the ones who are not making music now. That didn't come in with the correct mindset of maybe thinking this was easy, or maybe thinking that, I go through school and then I'll be something just because I go through school. Yeah. Which I had that belief to a certain extent as well, but I wasn't fooling myself. I had already, before coming to school, I had already released like 4 albums of self-produced, engineered work that I'd done, and I was like, okay, I'm coming to school because I want to take this shit to the next level, not I'm gonna pay this hefty tuition to just wing it or try this shit out. Yeah, you already had like you were on the path already. I was 110% sure, like this is what I'm doing, you know. Did you where do you feel you were at when you going into school, like versus some of your other students and peers, you know, because I know you've got this question since graduating, and I've got this a lot from other students who are thinking about school, right?
Yeah.
Is school worth it? Should I do it?
Yeah.
How do you respond to those people? And like, you know, where was your head at when you were when you started?
Man, like I went into it because I don't know, I didn't really think too hard about it. I was just like, fuck, I can't be studying sciences and and shit no more. So I was like, I just took the class because I enjoyed music.
Right.
Yeah, and I wanted to get better. And man, I was just like, yeah.
But you had, sorry to cut you off, I mean, you had before school dabbled in FL and recording with your homies and putting songs together, right? So you weren't completely green.
I was already sort of good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was at the time, but yeah. If people ask me that question though, like, is it worth it? Like, to your point, like, just because you're going to school doesn't mean you're going to be guaranteed a job at the end.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you got to be willing to die for this shit. You know what I mean? Like, you ready to die for this? You know?
I mean, like, they gave me that plaque up there, right? Because I was the most outstanding student, and like, I still got treated like everyone else at the end of it when I was through the curriculum. I mean, yes, I got a letter of recommendation, and yes, I had made efforts to network and be on good terms with a lot of the instructors and faculty and whatnot. But yeah, man, I mean, there's no golden ticket. There was no like, oh wow, like 95% average. Like hey, we've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
This studio, come on over. Yeah. Like, no, it was 5-6 long, depressing years before I got, you know, linked up at 2-Track here, and I just kept doing it though.
Yeah,
you know, that's the thing, because it is going to be, there are going to be tremendous disappointments along this road and in this artistic, self-driven endeavor of the music industry. You've got to be, you know, like you got to be ready to die for this shit. You got to know through and through that this is what you're doing, or you're gonna just be chewed up so fucking fast.
Yeah, you can't be half-assing this shit. Yeah, and yeah, like I'll have parents ask me like, oh, should my son like do this? And like my first like answer is learn as much as you can on YouTube, because you can learn anything on YouTube. And I'll say it, school isn't necessary. Like, you can learn all the shit on your own, but the things you get with school is that firstly the networking. So you meet a lot of like-minded people.
Huge.
And like the faculty too, right? Just people who are in it, mentors, right? Like people who are in it, still in it, and they can kind of shortcut some things for you, like, hey, go this way, don't go that way, go this way, you know? Just someone to guide you. So that's another thing. But like, ultimately, you know, if money's an issue, because like it ain't free, right? You could learn a lot of this stuff on your own.
I agree with everything you're saying there. I mean, school, the benefits, I would say, are being shown how to do things correctly. Because yes, there is so much good information on YouTube. There's so many videos. Anything you want to learn is on YouTube. But there's also a lot of people putting videos out that don't understand gain staging and are telling you what's, you know, this is the best this or that. Like, just factual shit that is not factual, that is opinion based and not coming from a place of truly understanding basics. So, you know, I don't know what your teachers were like at Douglas, but at Nimbus, I mean, we had gold record, platinum, legit dudes who are in the industry right now recording big bands, who, you know, who would, you know, had Junos and had, you know, worked with, you know, superstars, rock stars, and had made a lot of mistakes. And so being able to, you know, I didn't learn everything there, but I learned the good stuff. I learned some stuff the right way.
Yeah.
And I got a good foundation. And like you said, good networking. Absolutely. But yeah, I would say, you know, 90% of when someone hires me now to mix and master a song, 90% of that or more, I've learned on my own from just million hours in here.
Yeah.
Or YouTube, man, or talking to my peers. Yeah. So just the continuation of that education after school is, I mean, that has to be, that's the only way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and for the next 50, 60 years, I will continue to learn until I'm, until I'm Dave Pensato's age and I'm still putting out Into the Layer videos of a new trick he learned, and he's like 78 years old. You know, that guy's my hero. So it never ends. And you can tell with someone like that it's like, they just love this. It's a passion.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So after school, Douglas, you got through that program, and then what do the next few years after that look like, as far as, you know, continuing your momentum from school and then deciding like, hey, maybe I want to start my own studio, maybe I got to find somewhere to intern. Like how did the road split after school for you?
So after school, I started working with some of my homies. So like, they're just like, hey man, like I'm trying to make music. And like these people, they've been making music. So I had a little setup at home in the basement. I think it was like in a 2020 Scarlett.
Dope.
And then Logic. And pretty much we were just like recording songs out of the basement. And then from there, it just kind of spread. It was like word of mouth almost. It's like, hey, my friend's like recording me. Like you should come by to the studio or whatever. And then yeah, like over time, I got better. I got quicker. I guess the roster kind of grew from there.
Nice.
And yeah, like slowly started getting into production again, making beats for some artists as well. And then from there, I think this was 2018. So like a year or so after school, I applied to be an intern at Blue Light. They accepted me, and like, yeah, I interned there for a few months, almost, just under a year, I think. And then I started engineering there as well. And this is the thing, like with when you're working at an actual studio, like it's different from the school setting. Like the school setting, everything's perfect. You know what I mean? But like when you're in a real studio, you're working with actual paying clients who are paying like 60, 70, 80 bucks an hour or whatever. And they expect a certain quality within that session too. Right? So it taught me a lot. Like shout out Blue Light, because I learned a lot from that experience. But yeah, it teaches you how to be like a professional, essentially.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then yeah, from there I did a lot more work at home, at the home studio, and then just kept building, man, pretty much until this year. We have a space now outside of the home studio. And yeah.
Where's that at?
This is by right next to Blue Light, actually. The building next to it, it's called The Pocket. but we're renting a few rooms, and yeah, we have a space there now.
Sweet.
So it changes the game, man, not working from home, because it's like when you're at home, you know, you could be in like it's just too comfortable. You know, it's hard to separate like
Yes.
home from work when
Yes,
it's
it
in the
is.
same place,
Yeah.
right? So like what I was doing, I'd be putting on my indoor shoes to like trick myself, like, oh, okay, I'm at work now or whatever. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, but it's nice. I'm sure like you can speak on this, but it's nice coming here, doing your work here, and then when you go home, it's like, okay, like
Yeah, I can turn that switch off.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because before I came. Well, even while I was at 2-Track for the first like almost 3 years, I had my setup at home. So almost everything behind me here was in my second bedroom, right? And yeah, you're not being a husband, you're not being at home, you're not being like, you're just always working when the studio is right next to your kitchen, or your bedroom. So it was different, you know. And I feel like since I've had the separation and I have this office now, I can step out, drive here, and turn on a different part of my brain, and I feel like I'm getting better work done, you know, because I don't have the distractions, and I'm treating it more like a job, even though it's not. I'll never ever call this a job. But I am, you know, it's more structured, and it's more, my time matters more when I'm here, and I want to be efficient, and I'm, you know, producing better results more efficiently. So that was a big game changer for sure. Yeah. Having this dedicated space.
Yeah. When you're here for a reason. It's like, boom, I got to mix this track, or I have a session.
Yeah.
And then after that, boom.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it took a while, but it was so worth it. I mean, this, what we're in right now has been a vision in my mind for years, right? Like, oh, my own spot, you know?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool, man. I sometimes have to just stand at the threshold of the door here and just like close my eyes and then open them and be like, yeah, this shit's real. Like, and look around and be like, I did it. Like, I'm here now.
Yeah.
Because it's just when you're on the journey, you're so focused and so caught up and so anxious and just so all these emotions, right? Like the drive, you don't really get to slow down and kind of look at the fruits of the labor and be like, oh yeah, like look at all this stuff coming together. I don't know. That's the way I've felt, at least for quite a while, just because it's been a whirlwind.
For sure.
Yeah. But now we got the spot. Now we got Studio B, and
it's nice, man.
Yeah,
I like being here.
Yeah, me too. This is the. Well, once we get AC in here, it'll be even better.
Yeah,
and we'll be able to stay for like longer periods of time. I do have to step out quite a bit, not because I like to take healthy ear breaks as well, but I have to just take ear and air breaks in here. So what? Tell me more about your studio. Like, paint a picture for us so we can kind of picture it.
Yeah. So it's me and 2 partners.
Okay.
So there's 3 of us. Palm Street Studios, and yeah, we have a recording studio, an office area where we can like press merch and stuff too, and we have a photo space as well. So we have like a white backdrop, and we have some other colors as well in there.
Oh, right on. Kind of like we have here.
Yeah. So like just paper.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were thinking about doing this for a couple years now, actually, but things just lined up. Like the space opened up. I have that connect through Blue Light, so the owner of Blue Light, he's leasing the building next to it, and they made rehearsal spaces. So it's just a bunch of rooms in this like warehouse kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they built a bunch of rooms in there, and we went in, and it was legit just like foundation, or like the studs still. There was no walls or nothing. We were just checking it out.
Wow.
And we were like, damn, this this could work, because we were already looking at spaces, and we saw it and we were like, this could work. So for the photo area though, we were like, is there any way we can raise the ceiling, like before they start putting the walls up? And they were like, yeah, easy. So like it wasn't free. We had to pay for that labor, but like it was just perfect timing. Like
good timing.
Yeah. So yeah, we're taking 3 rooms, and yeah, one of the rooms is the recording studio side, and pretty much I pulled all the shit from my home studio, put it in there, and yeah. So the vibe in the recording studio is very similar to the home studio, just a little bit more improved. So like, it's a lot deader in there. The walls are not square or not parallel like in my home one, and a little bit more treatment too. So the recordings are like a lot better in there as well.
What did you guys use to treat the room?
Roxel, Safe and Sound. So built 2 front bass traps, or no, 3 bass traps up front. So 1 on the ceiling, floor to ceiling, and then they can't see my hand, but yeah,
I get you.
You got it.
Yeah. So you guys built baffles, basically, like you know, 'cause some studios will have the whole wall made out of Roxel and then just cover it with fabric, right? But you've got like the drywall, and then you guys have made your own spots where you're treating it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, it's I've been pretty happy with the sounds I've been getting out of the room. Monitoring wise, it's a lot better too. And yeah, it's the traps, I believe. But yeah, man, it was a dope learning experience, because like I'm not too much of a handyman, but like I learned a lot, and like I was using math that I haven't used since like grade 9, grade 10.
Yeah.
Triangles and shit. Yeah. But yeah, we just opened up couple months ago. So May was when we first started the build.
Right on.
And then June was like our first month of being in operation. So
now at 2-Track, we've got, over the years, we've miraculously kind of thrived on just word of mouth.
Yeah.
You know, we have a website and obviously the Instagram. I don't want to ask you too much about like your business plan and all that and give away your secrets, but like what when you guys open up a new studio, I mean, what's the goal or the state of mind of like, how do we attract clients, you know, for other people that are listening, maybe that are thinking about opening their studios, or they're just independent? I mean, how do you go about that? How do you go about bringing clients to a new studio?
Well, in our case, we were fortunate to have like a network of musicians that we already knew, and for the recording studio side, it's pretty much the people that I was previously working with at the home studio. But I think social media, I know that's like the easy answer, but like IG is like a great tool you could use.
It really is.
Yeah. IG and for like attracting clients, like if you have a sweet like landing page, like a website, like 2-Track, like that's clean, you know what I mean? You go in there, you see like little videos at the top and shit, so you get the vibe already. But I think most of my work has been word of mouth, pretty much.
Yeah, and like just you said, you had like the sort of the crew at the beginning, like, you know, the friends and their friends that you'd been recording already, and you had that buzz to begin with. Yeah. And that's super helpful, right? To just have that right off the bat. You know, you've kind of got your own little minions talking about you right away, and word of mouth, and some going through the grapevine that way, and it does grow over time as long as you keep doing good work and people come back, then they come back and it's like them plus one next time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So
that's how it is. Yeah.
That's how it is. What are you using for monitors in the studio, or do you have more than one, or?
I only have one set right now. It's the Atom A7Xs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I almost got those. Those are these Genelecs that I have.
Yeah.
Those are really nice monitors. Cool.
Yeah. I do want to get a second pair though. I want to get some NS10s. Just 'cause
how do you find those anymore? Like online, I guess online, right? Secondhand.
Yeah, secondhand.
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace. Sometimes they pop up.
Yeah.
Or like they pop up in the island or something. Like,
yeah,
I got to take a ferry to get these or something.
Who was it that? Well, there's Chris Lord Algae branded, but some company made like a revised NS10, right?
The
They're
CLA
called CLA 10s or something.
Yeah.
I saw them at Tom Lee last year. They look the same. Obviously, they're not going to sound the same because that wood that they use to make those speakers is now extinct, apparently.
Word.
Which makes them so covetable and rare. But having a second set of monitors is super clutch. So
yeah,
I had this little Oratone mono speaker for a bit. I find myself not using it as much anymore. I don't know. I really went down the rabbit hole of like, I gotta mix in mono for a bit, and then
I was gonna ask you actually, how do you feel about that?
It was cool having that in the beginning. Like, this thing sounds like my iPhone sounds better than this thing. Like that's how bad it is, but that's the point.
Yeah.
it's just this little cube with no bass on it.
No.
It's like treble-y, mid-range. I will say this though, like it's I play back some of my favorite mixes on it, and you just see it and hear it in your brain in a totally different way, right? So in that sense, it's eye-opening. I don't lean on it and rely on it as like I've got to make it sound good on this.
Word.
It's just more so of like, it's been a learning experience having it and then checking my mixes on it. I used to, like I said, it's not even plugged in right now. It's just a piece of art in the studio right now. But for a bit, I was using the Apple HomePod as a reference speaker as well, because that thing's mono and has like, I think it's a great sounding speaker. It goes really loud. It sounds really great at really low volumes, and it's got a good low end response. So I would check my mixes on that to make sure like the bass wasn't farting,
Yeah.
That was before I got my sub, because I got a sub now for these Genelecs, which has been a revelation, having a dedicated sub. So especially for the stuff that we do, right? So yeah, and then I've got the Yamahas here, but those I don't use. Those are for when we book out the producer sessions. People like to have the bigger speakers because they think they're better. But these Genelecs cost twice as much, and I think they sound way better.
Yeah, they're clean.
But those and then the trusty Audio Technica ATH M50X.
Hell yeah.
Which are like the gold standard of headphones. They're the NS10 of headphones. Let's be real. Everybody uses those, man. So but I don't mix in mono. I don't check in mono really ever anymore. I mean, I don't know. That's like one of those big, hotly contested topics, isn't it? What do you feel about it?
It makes sense. Like why people would recommend doing it. Just because like when it's all collapsed in the middle, it's easier to see if there's any conflicting frequencies. Sometimes it's hard to tell when like the synths are like super wide kind of thing. They're like swimming out in the sides. So when you collapse it in, it's easy to see, maybe I can like take out 2K or something. And also it's good to check if there's like any phase problems. Like yeah, when you throw it in mono, do I like completely lose the pad after widening it so much?
Yep.
But I don't really keep my mix in mono for too long. I just use it to check. Maybe use it to like level vocals and bass and kicks, just to see how they kind of match with each other.
That's a very useful function, I would say. Yeah, how to get the vocal to sit right, or if it's too loud. Yeah, when you hear it in mono, because everything's just on top of each other at that point, right? So yeah. I mean, it's easy enough with the Apollo. There's a button on the Apollo interface, mono. You know, so do I need a dedicated mono speaker when I can just do that? And for how infrequently I do it now, you know? Yeah, so not saying don't ever do it, but I'm also not saying you have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's been my experience with mono.
Just another tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And more and more playback systems now are, you know, stereo, you know, a lot of these Bluetooth speakers and stuff, you know, where are people listening to music? Apple headphones, laptop speakers, none of that shit's mono. So, yeah, that's become like a mantra. There's no rule. Man. For anything in this game, there's really no rule.
Yeah, there really isn't, man. Yeah. It's whatever sounds good,
whatever works for you, whatever works for your style, you know. Yeah. So what are you finding that you're enjoying the most? Is it making the beats? Is it helping with the songwriting? Is it doing mixing? Is it like, which part of the process do you gravitate towards the most? Have you at this point in your career, do you think you've found a thing that you're going to really focus in on, or do you enjoy all of it? Or
I enjoy all of it. I'd say what I enjoy the most is creating the beat with the artist in the room. Like I find that the most rewarding, just because it's like, man, I've had sessions where the artist was feeling a type of way, and he's like, man, like broke up with my girl or something, you know what I mean? And they wanted to like capture that in the session. And like, you can't, like those sessions are like, those sessions are special, because it's like you're literally capturing the moment, not only like with his writing, but also like with the beat as well. Because it like, they'll be in a certain like mindset, like yo, do this, yo, sample this or whatever. And yeah, those are some of the realest songs I've ever made came from those sessions. So
nice.
Yeah,
from real life experiences.
Yeah.
So your production setup, what does that look like? Is that a MIDI keyboard? Is it an MPC, or like, what are we talking about? Yeah,
just MIDI keyboard. I use Ableton for producing.
Okay. Yeah.
And the setup is pretty much MIDI keyboard. I have some pads too, some drum pads. And one of the business partners, he has like a Roland Juno stage or
nice
something.
Analog synth.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah, so I was just like going through some of the sounds, like, damn, like I've heard these sounds before. Like,
yeah, and like a lot of famous records.
Yeah, like these are all like classic sounds.
Yeah. And that's cool.
Yeah, it's good to tap into that, because a lot of the sounds that I use are usually like Omnisphere sounds.
Yeah.
And like they're super synthy, digital and stuff. You put like a piece of analog gear in there, it's like, oh, okay, it's like a familiar sound, but it's fresh at the same time, because there isn't that much analog stuff, I guess. Well, maybe not, but yeah, it's dope. It's fun to have that piece in there in the equation.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's I still mix like 90, work 90+% digital, but I have a couple of analog pieces for a reason, because they're just gives a little something special. I can't really name it, a little bit of magic, a little bit of character, something else. So plus it's fun. It's fun, you know, instead of moving your mouse, you play with this Juno synth and play the keys and mess with the envelope and like, ooh, that feels good, right?
Just being like able to actually like touch it or like something physical, you know?
Right.
Instead of like ones and zeros, it's electricity.
And it gets warm.
Yeah.
And the lights flash.
Yeah.
On it,
it's like, wait,
things move. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's really cool that you have that. So those, are any of the 28 FLAIR songs you produced, are those using that Juno synth? Some of those?
The ones that you've touched, most of that is like in the box.
Okay.
Yeah. But some of the newer stuff, I'm sure he'll show you soon. Some of the newer stuff we have. Oh no, yeah, the intro.
Oh, of course.
Track. Yeah, we use some of the Roland on that.
Ooh, dope.
Yeah.
Dope. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's nice, man, because that's his sound. He fucks with that synthy shit.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. That intro is fantastic, dude. It sounds so epic.
Appreciate it, man.
For people that don't know what the hell we're talking about, you produced the intro for 28 FLAIR's new EP, and it's like a very movie soundtracky.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like Hans Zimmer epic shit, right?
Yeah.
Like
some
Batman,
Blade Runner
something
shit.
like that. Yeah.
Real quick, I can't take all credit for that. The homie Andrew Lowe, he helped out with that. When you hear it, yeah.
Well done, sir.
Easy.
But that was great to hear that. I mean, that you're so diverse that you can do that. How do you get in that headspace of going from like rolled hi-hats and 808s and a 4-bar loop to going to a movie soundtrack type of a flow?
Man, it's like it depends to the artist. Like with 28 FLAIR, shout out 28 FLAIR. He has a vision of what he wants the song to be about and what the song should sound like. So he'll play some like reference tracks for me, and he'll be like, yo, I kind of like the elements of this one and this one, of this and this and this track. And then he'll show me another track, and he's like, can you mix like some of the elements of this and this with that? And like, yeah, from there we just, we create the vibe. So it's cool too, because like he's very involved with the beat making. Like we'll go through sounds together. So it's very much him and my beat. Like, yeah, he'll like have an ear for the sounds that we should be using.
Yeah. So. Yeah. He's very unique. And I mean that as a high compliment. Like there's very few people that I've worked with that really can see their full vision the way 28 FLAIR does. I mean, that guy's brain is on another level. He from start to finish, he's kind of got the whole thing mapped out.
Yeah.
He's particular. He knows what he wants, and he can kind of see the finish line. And it's been a joy for me working with you and him, and helping get these songs, mixed and to the end, and taking his direction is great. He's got a good understanding of music terminology, and he's rare. It's rare, dude. So shout out to 28 FLAIR. His project's coming out soon, and that's been a blast.
No, I'm a fan, bro. That's all I'll say, man. I'm a fan of your work, and like I'll have like the beat, and we'll have it like set up for you to mix, and like whenever we get it back from you, or whenever he plays like a new mix from you, it's like, damn, I didn't even know like it could be elevated that much. You know what I mean?
Oh, cool. That's good to hear, man.
Yeah. It's super trippy to hear, because it's like it's my production. You know what I mean? And like you doing your thing on it. Like, you don't take anything away from the production. Like, all the elements are there, but it's like everything's just brought up like more life to everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
great.
Yeah, man. I think that's something that younger engineers have to understand, it's like it's not necessarily like you changing the song because you think it needs to sound better. It's more so like, okay, this is the song, how can I enhance it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
For sure. I don't know if I agree with the term my mix when people say that's my mix, because I don't know if these are my mixes. I'm just enhancing what's already there. It's your mix. I'm just bringing it up to the surface. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of ego in saying that this is my mix. And thank you for saying that, because I try really, really hard, and I'm very careful to honor what is there, to appreciate what is there, and not just try and fuck it up and put my own spin on it to leave my mark.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that's not what mixing is. Mixing is the song's there. You're cooking it. Mm-hmm. The ingredients are there. You just got to add the heat. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like, you put, use the cooking show analogy the other day on the show, but it's like all the ingredients are out there on the table, and then you just got to put in the pot and then heat it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not adding some foreign ingredient that's gonna fuck the sauce, the soup up. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to hear that. Michael Brower is a big inspiration for me. He's one of the top mix engineers in the world, and
he does Coldplay stuff, right?
Yeah, a lot of well, not all the Coldplay, but worked with Coldplay quite a bit, won quite a few Grammys with them. Mm-hmm. And his like philosophy, he calls it MAI, which is match and improve, and so it's like he gets the mix, hears it, feels it. What's this about? Okay, I don't want to undo any of these threads, but let me make this sweater a little bit more colorful.
Right. Yeah.
So I really took that to heart. He's got some stuff on Mix with the Masters, and I really like more. I've learned more from him just speaking than actually like watching his techniques. Yeah. Because that's really what a lot of mixing is about, dude. It's about feeling, dude. It's not really like, oh, what compressor did you use? Close your eyes and feel it, man. Yeah. Close your eyes and hear it.
So true.
So, that's something I've adopted, and I try and continue to do that. So, so going back to what my question, which was, what part of the process do you enjoy the most? Creating the song from scratch with the artist, capturing the initial vibe in the studio, and then once the beat's made, are you guys usually, I guess, probably tracking like the same day in that session while the feeling is still there?
Yeah.
And like, where does it go from there? What does that look like?
Yeah. So some of the artists that I work with, they'll be writing as I'm making the beat. So sometimes we won't have like the full song written, like in terms of lyrics. So usually it takes me a couple hours to make the beat, and then at the end we'll start tracking the vocals, just to get an idea. So like I'll have it arranged and everything. So like, okay, chorus here, verse, chorus, whatever, and then we'll fill it out. If we don't have the whole song written, we'll just like kind of lay some demo vocals out just to kind of get the vibe and stuff. But yeah, sometimes though, like we'll finish the whole song just because like it's the feelings and the energy is so raw and it's just there. And
right on.
Sometimes the song writes itself. Like it's super quick, you know. It really depends with which artist.
And what's the recording environment look like? Do you guys have a dedicated booth? Are you tracking in the control room? No booth. We track. So I'll have the desk, and then I'll have them like to my left. Okay. Yeah. With like a vocal shield thing, or do you just trust that your room's dead enough?
Yeah.
So you like the sound in there that it's just.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
And what I mean, have you got like a little arsenal of mics that you'd like to audition for different artists? Do you have one kind of that you're using most of the time?
Yeah. So right now back home, I would use the 102, the TLM 102.
Okay. Yep.
I have the 7B, but for the new studio, we actually got a U87. Yeah.
Very nice.
And like, man, blew my mind, yo. So like, that's pretty much all I've been using so far. But it's interesting because like, sometimes the U87 isn't the right choice. Like with certain voices.
Yeah.
Sometimes the 7B is what's needed. So yeah, it's a matter of like what the voice is and what they're doing with it. And like, yeah. Sometimes I'll use the 7B just because like it's the vibe.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing more boom bappy stuff or more yelly stuff.
Yeah,
7B.
sometimes you don't need like this super bright, clean, polished sound because you're gonna fuck it up with a decapitator later anyways.
Yeah.
So
it'd be cool to like, let's say you have two set up always, and then you have like the super clean, the U87, and then you have like a 58, and then like if you want your ad libs to be a different vibe or something, get them to do it on the 58.
Yeah.
I might have to do that.
Is your do you have a dedicated mic pre for the 87 or?
Yeah. So we got the 747, 747.
Avalon?
Yeah. I lucked out, bro. I found one on Facebook.
You got one used?
Yeah. Found one on Facebook. I was like, he posted a price. I was like, hey man, I like it.
Yeah.
I'll definitely cop, but is there any way you'll take da-da-da for it instead? And then he was like, you know what, you asked politely? Sure. Yeah. So it worked out.
Hey, that is so cool because that combination was like when we were in Nimbus, like that was me and a couple of our friends. We were like, man, when we get the Avalon and the 87, we fucking made it, dude.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, it's hard to beat that.
It's
like,
not bad.
You know, you can get more expensive mics, but man, the amount of hit records that have been recorded with an Avalon and an 87, that is a pretty special combination. So congratulations, dude.
Thank you, man.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's it was not cheap, but I feel like we only need one like really good recording chain right now, and I'm not tracking like drums and stuff. So
it's for the stuff that we do, like the R&B, hip hop, trap stuff. It's one mic, man. I mean, so if you could just get some delicious vocal chain, you got all your bases covered. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to get a 76 though.
Oh yeah, that's the next one.
Yeah, I think so. Like for 76. Like
and a compressor.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant I was thinking 67, the mic. But
that'd be clean too.
Yeah, an 1176 to track with. Yeah. There's so many options. There's so many 1176 clones out there, right? And there's like a new one every month. Who just made a really cool looking one? Audioscape made yet another revision a couple months ago. They make some really cool stuff. I have some Audioscape stuff here. But I ended up going with the purple because I knew an engineer / instructor at Nimbus who had one, and then I don't know, at the time I read all the reviews, and I think it's the most expensive one next to the real thing as well, and I was just like, I don't want to go get some like, you know, half-ass piece of gear. Like, if I'm going to get a piece of gear, I'm going to get a piece of gear.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
This thing was, you know, thousands of dollars, but it sounds like it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's and I can pin the needle and it still sounds natural. That's one of the beautiful things about gear as well, is it's so much more forgiving. So
you can slam it.
Yeah.
And it'll still sound like
nice. You can really hit it. Now your Avalon's got EQ on it and a compressor, if I'm not mistaken. Do you find yourself using those much while you track?
Yeah. So I find the The EQ is amazing. I like the EQ. I'll just like turn up the highs, like add some air almost all the time. The compressor is not bad. I find it kind of slow, which is not a bad thing. Which is why I want the like a 76 instead. Something to be more like more fast, you know, just to chop off the peaks.
Sure.
Yeah, but I don't find myself compressing too hard. Just like the loudest parts.
Yeah.
A couple dB
on the way in, because then you're kind of committed to that.
Exactly.
But it is nice. It is a nice option to have compression on the way in. My Manly core is the same. It's got a compressor on it, but it does have adjustable attack and release. It's harder to dial in than I'd like. But the one thing that is really good on it is it's got a limiter on it. It's got like an analog limiter for, you know, like a brick wall limiter, just to shave shit off right away. And I hit like that lights on all the time, like with these aggressive rap vocals, and I've never got a bad sound with it, which is really cool. So I trust it, you know.
Nice. And
then it's got the EQ on it, though I don't touch. I honestly don't. It's got like a Baxendall shelf thing going on. But with the microphone that I use, the Manly Ref C, it's just so good. I don't want to touch that tone or that mic. It works on almost everybody's voice. And so again, like committing to like recording, the art of recording is an art. Like there's a reason that, you know, all your favorite songs, if you can find the CD or flip through the credits and look in there, there's a dedicated recording engineer for songs. Yeah. Because they go to a individual who is a master at choosing the right mic, choosing the right mic pre, choosing the right compressor, knowing how much to compress. Do I want to EQ this on the way in? Do I want to tone shape this? You know, it's more than just setting up a mic and turning the gain on. Yeah. It goes so deep, the actual art of nailing the recording, like getting an amazing performance that doesn't require a lot of fixing and mixing after, you know. And that's one of the things that I'm still learning. Like I've been recording for 17 years and I'm still a novice when it comes to being a recording engineer. You know, like I know how to get good recordings, don't get me wrong. That's why people come to me at the studio, but there's levels beyond this, man, of like people who just do that. I mean, probably not as common anymore, right? Because now most people are the engineer and the mixer, or the producer and the engineer, or, you know, combinations. But all the stuff that I grew up listening to, the hip hop in the 90s and 2000s, is like, was a recording engineer, and that was their job. And they made a lot of money hourly being a recording engineer, you know. So I wouldn't say that art form is lost, but it's more diluted now.
Just the role kind of got absorbed by
other roles.
Other roles,
yeah. Dope. So U87 and Avalon, gorgeous. And then a couple of other things in case, right, when the mood doesn't call for it, you've got some options.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And then are you, I know like some of the stuff that you've been working on with FLAIR, I've been lucky enough to help you mix, but you're obviously mixing records yourself that you are recording, mixing and mastering. How is that going? What are the challenges that you find with mixing? What are some cool things you've learned recently, maybe? Let's talk about mixing for a bit.
Yeah. I'd say I'll start with the challenges. Like my biggest room for improvement is loudness. Like just because like you don't want to have a song, like I know Spotify, they do that like normalization or whatever, but you'll still have songs that like just sound crazy bigger.
Yes. Yeah.
You know? And yeah, my like one thing I want to learn or get better at is achieving that loudness but not losing that punch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or not having it like pump
Yeah.
when you just limit a little too much or a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
too hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my biggest room for improvement personally, I think. Sorry, what was the other part of the question?
Oh yeah, like, well, that's part of the question. Just like, what do you, you know, mixing is there's a million things I struggle with on a day-to-day basis, you know, and things that I'm learning and things that I'm enjoying. But yeah, I guess I was asking you, like, you know, you're mixing as well as, you know, producing beats from scratch and recording. You're mixing quite a bit, right, with the artists that come through your studio.
Yeah.
And I guess you'd also be the mastering engineer.
Yeah, I kind of mix and master at the same time.
Yeah, right. Me too.
Yeah.
Do you have like have you kind of built a chain over the years of like a couple of limiters that you trust? It's always going to be a little different, you know, song to song, but
yeah.
What are you finding that you're gravitating towards for like the mastering part?
So do you have Plugin Alliance plugins?
I've got the Alpha compressor and the Elysia Alpha compressor and the Black Box.
Oh, yeah.
I think, and maybe one other thing, but those are the two I use a lot.
Yeah. Both those live in my mix bus, actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's actually pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think I saw one of your posts. You'd use the Alpha. You would soft clip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. I like.
Incredible.
Yeah, that lives in my chain.
Nice.
So like, I like the Slate bus compressors. I'll use the Gray. I believe that's the SSL.
Yeah, I use that one a
emulator.
lot too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll use that to kind of glue the mix. Pro Q3, just for like notching out like stuff, like subtle EQ stuff. Sometimes I'll throw the mag. This guy.
Q4M.
Yeah.
With the airband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Heavy on the airband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Add a little bit highs and like, yeah, just like the sweetening EQ. And then saturation. So I'll do black box sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll do sometimes I'd mess around with the Slate tape, the VTM.
Yeah, that's on my mix bus almost all the time.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's nice.
You got to put it on, like, you can't slap it on at the end though. You kind of got to mix into it because you can gain stage correctly into that, or you can throw it on later and then just your needle's pinned.
Yeah.
And it's too much.
Word.
Right.
Okay.
Because you've probably heard this on lots of different YouTube videos. I know I have, but you know, plugins are getting so sophisticated nowadays that their algorithms are imitating the way that not just how the plugins, not just how the equipment that they're copying sounded, but how it reacts, like the whole process of it. So how much level coming into it determines what the output of it sounds like, right? So I did a post recently on Instagram about like gain staging into plugins and stuff, and a lot of the Slate stuff, you can gain stage into it and it actually sounds different than just like throwing it on. You know, I use like a gain plugin or a trimmer before it, so you're not hitting the plugin so hard. Yeah. And it changes how the plugin sounds, like it's a piece of gear. Yeah. It's remarkable, like how advanced these things are. But that's a big one for the tape machine, to throw that on somewhat, you know, not at the beginning, but once you get your levels and stuff, and then kind of finish the mix with it on. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Have you tried Heat?
No.
And Pro Tools? Pro Tools, it's like a little secret. It's the first time I've talked about it on the show. But Heat is it's like an analog saturation sort of emulation in Pro Tools, but it goes on every single channel. So you buy Heat and then you go and turn it on, and it gives you like the way you're kind of imitating the way your mix would sound if you summed it on a console, and you get like the sound of every single channel, and then you get the difference of all those channels summing together to give you like more glue and vibe and like character, right? So Heat, you buy it, turn it on, and then you see like a little light flash on every track, and you just control it with 2 knobs, tone and depth.
Interesting.
But it is powerful. It's a secret. Nobody talks about it. There's no videos about it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I know like a lot of the top mixers in the world use it. A friend of mine uses it, and I use it, and it's a secret, and I'm telling everybody about it right now.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. So I use Heat when I mix, and it's really good. It's really cool.
Dang. Is it an Avid?
It's
plugin?
Avid.
Okay.
So you buy it from the Avid website. Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
And that, and on the topic of gain staging too, like you can't throw that on at the end and be like, okay, now I'm gonna add this to make my mix better. I will level out my tracks, bust things out, get my mix organized.
Yeah.
Throw it on and then mix into it till the end.
Yeah.
Because it adds level, because it's saturating, right? You're getting more harmonics and everything that builds up. So if you throw it on at the end, then you're gonna go further than you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, from time to time, I've on it, to be honest, I was telling my friend the other day, I have some of this nice analog stuff here, but I'm not using it as much these days. The biggest reason is because of recalls.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
I have some clients that send lots of recalls, and I do tons of revisions, and then some people are not as, don't require as much. But when you do, and you have to go back over and over, I don't want to be putting tape on here and taking pictures, and the threshold on the compressor isn't notched, it's fluid. So if I had it just right last time and I get the sweet spot, I have to nail the sweet spot again, and it's not exactly the way it was. So it's tough, man. It really is, as opposed to just firing up your Pro Tool session and it's exactly how you left it.
Yeah.
Saves a lot of time.
For sure.
The gear sounds great and I love it, and I'm not selling any of this anytime soon, but the trade-off of like how much better it sounds versus how much time I save, leaning towards the efficiency and the time a lot lately, to be honest.
Yeah. So with your workflow, you do, so it's like hybrid. You run vocals through your hardware as well, right? As you're mixing it?
Yeah. Yeah, like all the 28 FLAIR stuff, I use the hardware distressor on.
Yeah.
The V comp, that tube compressor at the bottom.
Yeah.
I use that on quite a bit of FLAIR stuff, and it's all vocals. I don't use any of these on like a snare. I mean, I could, but I like the vocal when it's hip hop and I've got like one opportunity, limited amount of gear, I'm going to use it on the most important instrument in the mix.
For sure.
So that's kind of my attitude towards it. And then, and right now I have the 1176 and the V comp daisy chained because I'm running out of inputs on my Apollo. I also have the Moog and the G comp daisy chained. Okay. And I was humming and hawing about, do I want to get a patch bay? Should I get an Apollo with more inputs? And it's like a $5,000 investment to get another, the next level up Apollo, right? And like, there's already so many cables in here. So, yeah. So I went from like not knowing anything about mixing, learning about mixing, struggling with mixing. Why aren't my mixes good? I don't have analog. Okay, let me invest thousands of dollars in analog. Getting better at mixing, realizing that the analog wasn't what I was missing. I'm getting the best mixes I've ever got 100% in the box nowadays. So it's funny. It's funny how how you have these ideas or these misconceptions, and our brains as humans, we always want like the quickest solution. Like, what's that one trick, that secret, that one thing I'm missing? Oh, it must be the real Moog EQ, not the. And now I don't even use it, so it's interesting. But they're there when I want to. They're there. I think one day when I get like a more efficient room with maybe a desk in front of me, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to sell stuff. I know people that buy and sell, and man, a lot of money over the years. So I'm just hanging on to stuff. I like it, but
and you know them really well too. So
I know them well. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, all the Jamon stuff that I've been mixing, the last 5 Jamon records, all in the box, 100%. And he tracks his own vocals. He tracks all of his own vocals, which is pretty fun.
Oh shit.
So I get to just kind of pick up where he left off with his sort of his demo. He gets his vocals and then does his delays and his reverb and kind of gets the vibe of the song, gets the flavor, and then emails me the stems. Here's the session, here's my demo, and I'll throw the stems in and then just kind of get it to the finish line. But that's, it's all been in the box, and those are some of the mixes I'm the most proud of ever. Because they're really good songs, and he's very, very talented.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Which helps a lot.
He's a beast.
But just I'm learning constantly, getting better constantly, and I'm not afraid to say that those are all in the box mixes, and I think they sound awesome. So, that's the analog versus digital thing is, I don't know if that debate will ever end. I still think you should get it couldn't hurt to get a nice compressor for tracking though.
Yeah.
Because then you are committed to at least like the sound or the character of that. And then you don't have to worry about recalling it later. You could just incorporate it in your chain with your really nice mic and your pre, and get an 1176.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good call. You should seriously consider Audioscape stuff.
Yeah.
They make really, really good one-to-one recreations of all the classics. They've got an LA2A that people rave about, and it's like $1,000. The real LA2A is $5,000.
Yeah.
A friend of mine just picked one up and he loves it. He uses it for tracking, specifically for tracking, not for mixing. And they've got, the V-Comp and the bus compressor are both Audioscape. Love them. Really good company, really cool guys, very very friendly, very, very, enthusiastic when you talk to them. So if you're thinking about getting into gear, that would be I would recommend them. Yeah.
Might have to get a 76 from them.
Yeah. They have 3 options now.
Yeah. I'll look into that. I have a question actually.
Yeah.
So, usually from what I've seen from like the big dogs is they'll go either the slow compressor first, like for tracking, or fast. And I guess it depends on genre, right? But like you personally, do you find yourself like recording with the 76, like something faster when you're recording vocals, or do you do something like slower? Do you let the transient in and then grab it kind of thing?
I have for about a year I was tracking with the distressor on Opto, so that imitates the LA2A. The LA2A, 10-to-1 ratio. And I liked that, and then I would, I'd use like the Universal Audio 1176 and a couple other things in my chain after. The thing with tracking with compression, I think the main desired end goal with that should be getting a tone more than oh, I have to compress it. Like, use your compressor while you're tracking for a tone.
Okay.
You know, because if you do have your attack way too fast in your tracking, then you've got like a choked vocal. Use the compressor for what the compressor does tonally more than, you know, let me mix this while I'm tracking, if you get what I'm saying. Because do that after, experiment after. That's worked a lot for me. And Jason Joshua actually said this, and I really took it to heart. He was like, he literally said that. He was like, unless you're using your compressor, if you're compressing more than a dB, throw it in the trash or something like that. Like, so if it's all about tone, like it's about, use the compressor for tone, use it, and then do your mixing after. And as far as fast first or slow first, I don't think about that ever.
Yeah.
I think it changes all the time. I'm trying to think about like, yeah, I mean, and sometimes I'll use two 1176s in a mix, one at the beginning of the chain and then one at the end too, but with like a different ratio. So, again, no rule to that, but I would say be cautious with how much you compress when you're tracking, because I've definitely compressed too much before, you know, over the years, made that mistake, and it's really hard to fix later.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be my answer to that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I kind of, one of my like problems I have sometimes, I'll be like meter watching instead of just listening.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, I'll catch myself all the time, but I'll be like tweaking compressors in the vocal chain. I'll be like, okay, yeah, that looks like it's hitting the right amount, but I'm not. Does it sound like it's hitting the right amount?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I feel like if you could turn off the monitor or like the computer screen real quick, just to hear it. Yeah.
I close my eyes a lot when I'm mixing. A lot. Like, especially when I'm picking the right compressor or this or that, or like how much. I don't, like, for sure I've done this in the past and made, you know, level watched, needle watched, however you said it.
Yeah.
But to try and get the sweet spot, or especially like adjusting attack and release on an 1176, because you can move the vocal front to back, like, so like it's a front to back moving tool.
Yeah.
And to get like, where do I want it to sit? I'm not like, oh, that release shouldn't be at 6. No, close my eyes and I'll just move my mouse and be like, okay, now it's sitting right where I want it in the mix. And I do that with my eyes closed all the time, constantly, even when I'm EQing stuff. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes too, I'll just close the Pro Tools session. I'll play my mix back with Apple Music open and pretend that my mix is playing in a playlist.
Yeah.
I hear it totally different.
No, you do.
Than if I'm like looking at even if I'm looking at the waveform of the vocal I recorded, or even if a single plugin is open, I just minimize the Pro Tools window and I open something else.
That's interesting.
And I hear the mix like I'm another person hearing it, not like I'm the guy who's mixing it. You know, it's a friggin' perspective shifter.
Yeah, you're not in Pro Tools world.
No.
Or Pro Tools realm.
Totally step out of the realm and hear it in a whole new way.
Yeah, you're just listening for the sake of listening.
So that goes back to like how, you know, mixing is so much about feeling, dude. It's like, you know, yes, you should look at the levels from time to time. When you're tracking, you know, you don't want your mic pre to be overdriven. Maybe you do.
Yeah.
Maybe you're doing like a screamo song, I don't know, and you want it messed up. But yeah, that's like about the only time I'll look at it, make sure I'm hitting like -9, -12, you know, for level coming in. And then the rest of it I try and feel as much as I can. Lots of automation, lots of eyes closed, lots of, just adding another, the way I was saying it the other day was like adding another, when you're the mixer, you're an additional member in the band. If you get hired as the mixer, you're one more element in that song that wasn't there before.
For sure.
You're not taking anything away. You're not ruining it. You're not undoing anything, but they're like, okay, we like this, but let's add one more thing. Let's put some powdered sugar on this dessert now.
Hell yeah.
To let's take it one little step further, give it more something. So, yeah, art form, long, deep rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun though. I love this so much, dude. I lose sleep over it all the time. I'm lying in bed waiting to come into the studio the next day, like to try something out, new technique, or just to practice. How am I going to finish that mix? All I think about really.
Do you have particular songs that you like to reference, or like albums that you like to kind of use to compare your stuff with?
A lot. I've been using Bryson by NLE Choppa for about a year as one of my go-to hip-hop trap mixes.
Hell yeah.
Reference, which I believe it's mixed by Jason Joshua, who I think is top 3 in the world. He's incredible. That mix is perfect in my mind as far as everything that a trap song should be.
Yeah.
So I use that a lot. I like to go back and listen to, honestly, stuff from other decades too, because I think there was a really special time in the 2000s. I'm a bit older than you, but you might remember like G Unit and 50 Cent, obviously, Eminem, before he, like a generation ago, Eminem.
Yeah.
When Steve King was still alive and he was mixing Eminem, and guys like Kevin Krause, who did all of Nas's stuff, and Dylan Dresdo, and Pat Viala, and there's a lot of like Jimmy Douglas, just like guys that were from an era of mixing where like before YouTube, before tons of plugins and stuff, guys who grew up like on the art of mixing, right? And I'll go and listen to those, even though like people might say, oh, that hip hop doesn't sound like that nowadays. You're right, it doesn't. Like those songs don't have rolled hi-hats and there's bass lines instead of 808s and stuff, but just to be like, okay, that's what a really good mix sounds like.
Yeah. As
opposed to, let's be honest, man, like there's a lot of big artists now that have shitty sounding mixes. I'll go back and listen to those and just be like, okay, that's what I can achieve one day. Like I'm still not there yet, but like, wow. Like, and maybe even it might even just be for the vocal tone or like, how loud is that snare? Like how much 2K can I get away with in that snare? Or like whatever, certain elements. And I'll listen to stuff from the 2000s quite a bit. It's the stuff I grew up on, but I still think some of those mixes have yet to be beat. There's a couple of guys like, Jason Joshua, Manny Marroquin, guys who like, they're at the cutting edge of mixing. Those guys are as good as anybody who's ever lived. But there's still a lot of stuff nowadays that's questionable. And I'm like, that's like the #1 song on iTunes. It sounds like garbage. Like I can, 5 of my friends could have mixed that better than this, So it's weird. It's puzzling. But yeah, I reference a lot. Yeah.
So you said Jason Joshua was one of the top 3.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the other 2?
Manny Marroquin. When I started learning who he was, I realized like all of my favorite R&B and hip hop songs were mixed by him, and I kept looking at the credits and I was like, seriously?
He's done everything.
Him again? Him? Manny? Like on and on.
Yeah. He did the Cuddy record. too.
Cudi,
Man on the Moon
all
3.
of Kanye's albums.
Yeah.
From beginning with College Dropout. They went through 11 engineers on College Dropout. Kanye fired 11 engineers, and then they hired Manny, and he's been Kanye's guy ever since.
I thought it was Dean, or does Mike Dean just kind of?
Dean does all the production.
Okay.
But if you look at the mixing, it's Manny.
Okay.
I mean, Dean did Gold Digger. He's done like a couple of songs, like singles in here and there, but for the vast majority,
yeah.
And
That's
then
crazy.
Josh Goodwin, I think, is incredible as well, who's Bieber's engineer.
Okay. Yeah.
For
like the more poppy
yeah,
stuff.
the more really clean pop stuff.
Yeah.
Tight fucking low end.
Mm-hmm.
Sexy. When you hear his low end and his bass lines, you're just like, what is that? How do I do that?
How
do I do that?
How, Sway?
Yeah. So how, Sway? So those would probably be my top 3. I listen to stuff when I want to know, like, okay, this is what a great mix sounds like in 2021. I'll bring up one of those 3 guys and kind of reference. Yeah. Or something from the 2000s.
Hell yeah.
The good era. Yeah.
Yeah.
The before the SoundCloud bedroom producer era.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because let's face it, that's a lot of, there's good and bads to that. A lot more people can make music. A lot more people can be creative. A lot more people can put stuff out and just, become an overnight star in their bedroom in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get not so good engineering sometimes out of that world too. So, yeah. How about you?
My top 3?
Yeah, or like, are there, as a producer, are there any big hip hop guys that RZA, DJ Premier, that when getting into hip hop that you really admired?
I say for like current day, like the current sound, Metro. I love Metro.
Yeah.
And I think that's just me. Like when I make beats, that's kind of the tempo I naturally like to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like the slower, more like head boppy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Man, I've been listening to the Pierre Bourne record. His beats go crazy too. Not super like complex, but it's just pure vibes, that bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah. For mixers, I really like Derek Ali, of course. Like all the TDE stuff, YG stuff, super clean. He touched Roddy Ricch's record and also Corday's record.
Okay.
And I really like those records. Super clean. It blows my mind too, though, because I'll listen to older music. If I need a break from rap and hip hop, I'll dive into Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and stuff.
Right on.
And
yeah, I'll do that too.
Yeah, just to switch it up a little bit, and it blows my mind because I'll listen to that and it'll be like, damn, these guys played through this whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were using tape and
it's a performance.
Yeah.
Captured on tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even picture what that process was like. So I feel like the engineering back then was next level.
They're mixing in real time. So the mix will play back and they're automating faders with multiple fingers at once. Yeah. People can't see my hands, but I'm pushing up and down, right? Yeah. So that, and the mix itself is a performance, but in real time. And if you fuck up one move, they gotta rewind it and start the quote unquote mix again all the way through because they didn't have Pro Tools and automation.
No.
So we're so spoiled nowadays.
Yeah.
Man.
They were playing the console an instrument.
Absolutely.
It was another instrument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wild. People forget.
Yeah.
People forget.
And that wasn't even too long ago. That was what? 70s, 80s?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just missed that. they didn't have the scissor tool in Pro Tools. They literally used razor blades, razor blades to cut tape and then tape it back together when they wanted to like loop a drum or some shit. Fuck.
That's wild.
Talk about scientists, mad scientists, dude.
That's wild.
You know, brushing away the Coke residue and like slicing of tape with a razor blade. Fuck, man. Yeah, we've come a long way. I wonder what's next.
Yeah, AI generated music.
Fuck. Well, we've already got, you know, AI generated mastering, and we've got a lot of plugins that'll, you know, do volume automation for you, and it's getting smarter. It's getting really smart. I just don't think that you can ever have an algorithm mix a song, because it is so human. You know what I mean? You can have an algorithm come up with drum patterns. Great. You can have an algorithm come up with melodies. Great. Lyrics even, you know, all that shit. But how do you put it all together in a way that feels warm, or that feels cold, or that feels angry, or that feels sad? Like that's what mixing is. That's what the human element is. And fingers crossed they never make a computer that smart. I don't think they will, though.
Yeah. Now, like, back to your point about like feeling, right? Like, how do you teach, how do you program something to have that human feel to a mix? Yeah. Crazy.
Definitely crosses my mind from time to time when I see like new, you know, because there's always like some new thing. They have headphones that'll emulate a room, or that like every month there's like some new thing that's like not taking jobs away, but making our lives easier. And then I wonder like how far before like people don't want to hire me for certain things that I do anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, look how good iPhone cameras are getting, but people still will pay for a wedding photographer, right? Like, I don't care how good the next iPhone is. People are still going to hire a wedding photographer. And that's the way I feel about mixing or engineering or being a recording engineer. Like, yes, you could buy the gear at home, but there's levels to this shit.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, dude. So what's next? What's next for you? Or anything you can tell us about on the horizon coming around the corner soon that we should look out for? New project, or you know? So like similar to what Metro did, like he has a project where he collected a bunch of artists that he worked with, and then he put them all in one album.
Beautiful.
I want to do something like that, where I'd produce it, and then I would pull my artists that I work with, and put an album together of some sort.
Wicked.
Yeah,
I love that idea.
Yeah. Just because like it'd be sick to like showcase all the people I'm working with. And I work with like all wakes of life, you know, so it's like it'd be cool to have them in one project. We'll see, because it's hard to find time sometimes when you're doing mixes for other people, and then you got to balance that with like your own stuff too. So
yeah, your little side passion project. Yes.
Yeah,
I hear you.
So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that's one thing I want to do. I listened to the episode with Uncle Ricky, and you guys were like saying, I think you asked, you were like, what's next kind of thing, and like I think it was you who said it. It was like it was Uncle Ricky. He was like, I'm already doing all the things that I want to do in the future, kind of thing. Like I feel like he feels like he's arrived. He just wants to keep doing it. Yeah, and I feel a lot of that as well. Like, we're blessed to be able to do this. You know what I mean? Like,
truly, man. Yeah.
So I think for
truly
me,
fortunate.
it's just For real, for real. Like, I think for me, it's just to continue to get better, like continue to improve, and like have a sweet tropical setup, like you guys are saying. I think like on the island, that'd be sick. Just having like a studio setup. But essentially, yeah, just to keep doing what I'm doing, but like just better, you know, more improved.
Yeah. You're on. You feel like you're on the right path. This is the journey you want to be on, and you're just riding this. You're on the ride.
Yeah,
taking it as far as it'll go.
Yeah,
you know.
That's it.
Yeah, man.
That's it. But yeah, man. Like one day at a time, I guess.
Yep. Beautiful. Where can people find you online and some of the stuff that you've worked on, some of the music you've worked on?
So I only use IG, really.
Okay.
So it's official MDKNGHT on IG. That's where I'm most active. In terms of music that I've worked on, I have a little playlist on Spotify. It's called Mixed by Midnight. I don't know if it would pop up if you searched it, maybe. But it's pretty much a collection of all the songs that I've like been a part of.
Sure.
In terms of like mixing or producing.
Yep.
So all my early work is there too. It's nice to listen to.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh damn, this was not too bad for the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully soon get more of my music out there too, with some of the artists that I work with.
Yeah. Super exciting. Awesome, dude. Well, this has been a huge pleasure for me. It's been really fun chatting with you, getting to know your background a little bit and your story. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. This is Demo to Limo with Mixed by Midnight.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
And thanks so much for listening. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Bye-bye.